Hello, makers. I'll be making a pair of Jawa. They'll both be made from the same pattern, however, one will be printed out of a standard printer, and the other will be out of cardstock on the laser cutter we have at the creation station. This pattern is a modified version of the QBcraft.com basic template. I modified this pattern to work with our laser cutter, but all credit to the author at QBcraft.com. To follow along at home, you'll need the pattern, which can be found on our Blogger or Facebook posts associated with this video. Print the pattern out on some standard printer paper. Or you can use cardstock if you know how to with your printer. You'll also need a hobby knife, and I'll use a cut-proof glove. Need coloring supplies. Here I have markers and paint. This pattern should work without tape or glue, but you can grab those and have them handy if you want to. I'm also going to make their eyes glow with a 5mm LED and a CR2032 battery. For temporary things like this, I tape them together, but be sure to collect the batteries when you're done and to handle them safely. Let's begin. Here I am with a knife, and I'm just following the lines. On the pattern I made for normal printers, the dotted lines are where you fold, and the solid lines are where you cut. We'll begin with the outside lines. All of this cutting could probably be done with scissors as well. It might make it easier to separate the parts on the sheet with multiple parts. Next, we'll cut the inside lines. The parts that fit together will fit together with these slots that you're cutting. If you manage to make them a little bit wider than just a slit in paper, everything will fit together a little easier. Now let's see what the cutting process looks like on the laser cutter. The laser cutter cuts much faster, but the process of coming up with a pattern that cuts exactly the way that you want can take much longer than cutting by hand. I spent a few hours working with the pattern and cutting out test models to come up with this design. Many cardstocks died to bring us this information. I'm going to color the printer cutout before I assemble it. To add color to the cardstock, I'll paint it with acrylic paint after I assemble it. To add color to the printer cutout, I'm going to get wild with some colored markers. I'm borrowing heavily from imagery of other cute small Jawa things I've seen online. I'm coloring brown robes all over, plus a dark shadow of a face and some utility belts. The Jawa is colored, and now we can assemble it. I use a little bit of cardstock to help keep a rigid line to fold against. Fold every little bit and tab towards yourself. To fold the box's shapes in general, there is usually a longer end that will form a sort of geometry that you can plug the other folding sides into. For the torso, we will make a hollow box and fold the bottom into that cavity to form a floor. And with the head, you do the same sort of thing, but you have a top and a bottom that fold into the middle. The arms follow the same rules, but are tricky and tiny. I added a frill on the front, which fits into some extra slots in the pattern. This is meant to be like a robe cowl. There's also some additional geometry on the back, meant to hide the battery, but maybe also look like part of a robe. Let's get to the cardstock. I'll use whatever is lying around to poke the cutout bits from the cardstock. This assembly is about the same as before, however, I put a little bit of extra work in the pattern that makes folding along the lines a little easier with the cardstock. Alright, we're put together, so now I'm just going to paint it real quick. We'll pretty much do the same painting pattern. we're all done. I hope this has inspired you to get creative and craft something up. You should try out a pattern from QBcraft.com. Be sure to come by and visit the Creation Station at the La Quinta Library when we reopen. Have a great day.